In today's episode of the channel, we're going to talk about something that rarely gets said out loud. Why the smart kid often ends up feeling stuck, confused, and completely lost as an adult. This audio recording has subtitles, so you can follow along more intentionally and reflect deeply as we go. So let me ask you this. Were you the kid who always had the answers? The one teachers praised, parents bragged about, classmates envied, even if they didn't say it out loud? You were supposed to go far. You were the gifted one. And now? Now you feel like you're falling behind in life. You procrastinate, you overthink, you isolate, and worst of all, you have no idea how it got like this. If that sounds like you, stick around. Because today we're not just going to talk about what went wrong. We're going to break it down piece by piece, and more importantly, show you how to start rebuilding. It starts early. When you're young, identity is simple. You're the funny kid, the shy kid, the one who likes dinosaurs. And then there's you, the smart kid. You got labeled early, and that label stuck. But here's what nobody tells you. When someone calls a child smart, they usually mean something else. They mean, you figured that out fast. You didn't even have to try. You're ahead of the others. And that's the beginning of the trap. Because instead of learning how to learn, you learn how to perform. You start chasing the feeling of being praised, not the growth that got you there. And slowly, without even realizing it, you internalize this belief. If I'm smart, it should be easy. That belief becomes your compass, your foundation, and it works until life stops being easy. The moment something gets hard, you panic, you hit a wall, and instead of climbing it, you ask yourself, wait, why is this happening to me? I'm supposed to be smart. So you avoid it. You wait. You distract yourself. You make excuses. You only pursue the things you're naturally good at. And here's the problem with that. When you avoid struggle, you also avoid growth. You stop developing grit. You stop building emotional resilience. You stop learning how to fail forward, and that's how the gap begins to form. The other kids, or the ones who were average, they start passing you because they learned how to learn. They practiced failure. They built muscle where you protected an image. And suddenly, you're not the standout anymore. You're just scared. And behind the fear, a crushing question. Who am I if I'm not the smart one? This is when it starts to get lonely. Because when your whole sense of self is tied to being impressive, you start hiding the parts of you that don't feel that way. You don't ask questions. You don't take risks. You avoid groups, clubs, conversations where you might look less than, and you retreat into your head. You start watching life instead of living it, analyzing people instead of connecting with them, thinking your way through emotions you were never taught to feel. And now socializing becomes another performance. You don't relate, you calculate. You're not present, you're managing impressions, which means even when you're surrounded by people, you feel completely alone. And here's the cruelest twist. You try to solve your emotions the way you solve math problems. You tell yourself you just need the right strategy, the right book, the right plan, the right thought. But emotional pain doesn't respond to logic. You can't think your way into feeling whole. You can't fix self-worth with spreadsheets and arguments. So now you're stuck in this loop, trying to be smart enough to fix what's missing, never realizing that the need to be smart is the thing holding you back. And when the loneliness becomes unbearable, when the shame gets too loud, the ego steps in one last time to protect you. It tells you, you're just different. People don't get you because they're not on your level. You're too deep, too complex, too evolved. And maybe part of that is true, but mostly it's armor, because it hurts less to feel superior than it does to feel left out. It's not confidence, it's defense. And the price of that defense? Connection, belonging, joy. Because to connect, you have to come down from the pedestal. You have to be real. You have to be seen. So how do you fix this? How do you start rebuilding when your entire identity was built on being the smart one? Here's the truth. You have to let that identity die. Not because intelligence is bad, but because worshiping it has cost you too much. You need a new foundation. Not I'm smart, but I'm willing to grow. Not I must win, but I'm allowed to begin. Because real growth, it's awkward, it's slow, it's humbling, but it's also real. So, how do you fix this? How do you start rebuilding when your entire identity was built on being the smart one? Here's the truth. You have to let that identity die. Not because intelligence is bad, but because worshiping it has cost you too much. You need a new foundation. Not I'm smart, but I'm willing to grow. Not I must win, but I'm allowed to begin. Because of real growth, it's awkward, it's slow, it's humbling, but it's also real. You have to let yourself try and fail and still keep going. You have to stop asking, will I look smart? And start asking, will this help me grow? And when you do that, you start living again. So if you feel numb or disconnected or deeply uncertain about who you are, that's okay. You're not broken. You're just overdue for reinvention. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You just need to be present in it. That means showing up, trying things, letting yourself be new at something again. It means building your life around being human, not being impressive. And yeah, it's scary, it's unfamiliar, but it's also where the good stuff happens. The real friendships, the honest joy, the quiet peace that comes from no longer needing to prove anything. So if this resonated with you, if you saw yourself in this story, you're not alone. And you don't have to keep living in the echo of who you used to be. Leave a comment. Tell me what part hit you the hardest. Let's make this the start of something real. Not smarter, not faster, just truer. Thanks for watching. Take care of your mind, and I'll see you in the next episode.